It's sad that Dick Van Dyke, who specializes in providing laughter to audiences, cannot create laughter in his own life. With nearly a century of existence, Van Dyke's journey has been marked by a series of heart-wrenching pain and tragedy, even at this moment. If you are interested in him, don't miss a second of this video because we will show you his sad story in the clearest way. Let's get started. Dick Van Dyke is widely regarded as one of the most fun-loving and infectiously happy personalities in the entertainment industry. Despite his long-running role as the crime-solving Dr. Mark Sloan in the comparatively serious TV series Diagnosis Murder, his career is filled with highlights where his assured, slightly goofy happiness and remarkable talent for physical comedy take center stage. One might assume that someone so exuberant and cheerful on screen must be a massive extrovert who effortlessly radiates positivity in social interactions. However, this assumption couldn't be further from the truth. In a 2016 interview with Entertainment Tonight, Van Dyke opened up about his lifelong struggle with extreme shyness, especially when it came to approaching strangers. He admitted, "I was very shy. With strangers, I couldn't talk to people." To cope with this debilitating bashfulness, Van Dyke turned to alcohol. He discovered that having a drink would help him loosen up, and it would bring down the barriers that shyness had built around him, making him more social and approachable. However, as the saying goes, the cure was worse than the ailment. His reliance on alcohol as a social crutch eventually led to problems, reflecting the darker side of his journey to overcome shyness. Also, in a 2016 appearance on Oprah, Where Are They Now?, Dick Van Dyke shared a deeply personal and candid story about his struggle with shyness and the unintended consequences of trying to overcome it with alcohol. Van Dyke revealed that his initial attempts to combat his shyness led him down a path of addiction. He described it as a lengthy and challenging battle. Van Dyke explained that it took him a considerable amount of time to overcome his addiction. It wasn't until he reached middle age that he was able to quit drinking. During this period, he faced the difficult realization that he had been using alcohol as a crutch to cope with his shyness and social anxiety. He expressed surprise at discovering the addictive tendencies within his own personality, as he had not been aware of them earlier. He further elaborated that his drinking habits had escalated over time. Instead of having just one martini, he found himself consuming 3 or 4. This escalation in his drinking, combined with the underlying shyness he was attempting to suppress, ultimately led to his struggle with addiction. Despite the challenges he faced, Dick Van Dyke eventually managed to overcome his addiction and turn his life around. His decision to openly discuss his personal struggles with substance use has had a positive impact on many people. He mentioned on the Bullseye with Jesse Thorne podcast via Maximum Fun that he receives letters from individuals who have been inspired by his story. Many of them have shared that his openness encouraged them to confront their own drinking problems and seek help. Van Dyke expressed a sense of pride in knowing that his confession has offered strength and support to others who were once ashamed to admit their issues with alcohol. In fact, Dick Van Dyke's struggle with alcohol addiction was a long and arduous journey. In a 2013 interview with The Telegraph, as reported by The Fix, he opened up about the toll this addiction took on his mental health. Van Dyke revealed that he had reached a point of deep despair, and his mental well-being had suffered greatly as a result. The addiction had pushed him into a state of severe depression to the extent that he even contemplated self-harm. In his own words, he described the emotional turmoil, saying, "I was in deep trouble. You get suicidal and think you just can't go on. It was just terrible." The revelation of Dick Van Dyke's struggles with addiction and depression serves as a stark reminder that even someone as beloved and successful as him can be affected by common mental health issues like depression. It highlights the fact that anyone, regardless of their public image or achievements, can face these challenges. However, there was a turning point in Van Dyke's battle with alcohol and depression. He mentioned that a significant change occurred when he began to grow weary of alcohol itself. Suddenly, the drink no longer appealed to him. He started to experience unpleasant physical sensations like dizziness and nausea when he consumed alcohol. This marked a crucial shift in his relationship with alcohol, and he no longer found the appeal in drinking. He described this change as a blessing. Van Dyke emphasized that overcoming his addiction was not a solitary effort. At different points in his life, he sought help from various sources, including rehab and Alcoholics Anonymous. These support systems played a vital role in his journey towards recovery and sobriety. The combination of his personal determination and the support of these resources ultimately allowed him to break free from the grip of alcohol addiction, leading to a more positive and fulfilling life. In a 2010 interview with Craig Ferguson, as reported by The Guardian, Dick Van Dyke shared a remarkable and almost unbelievable story about a real-life close call at sea that involved a group of porpoises coming to his rescue. The story began when Van Dyke found himself in a perilous situation after falling asleep on top of a surfboard. He awoke to a terrifying realization that he was far from the safety of the shore, out at sea. He described his situation saying, "I woke up out of sight of the land." Understandably, panic set in as he realized the seriousness of his predicament. As Van Dyke paddled in the open water, he noticed something swimming around him. At first, he feared the worst, thinking he was surrounded by sharks. However, to his immense relief, these mysterious swimmers turned out to be porpoises. These intelligent and playful marine mammals seemingly recognized the actor's distress and came to his rescue. The porpoises, in an incredible display of animal instinct and compassion, began pushing Van Dyke's surfboard and him back towards the safety of the shore. This unexpected and heartwarming encounter ultimately saved him from a potentially life-threatening situation. While this porpoise rescue story might sound almost too fantastic to believe, it is important to note that the primary source for this account is Dick Van Dyke himself. Therefore, it's advisable to take the story with a pinch of salt, as it relies on his personal recollection. However, it's worth mentioning that there have been documented instances of dolphins, which are closely related to porpoises, assisting humans in distress in the ocean. So, while the story might seem extraordinary, it is not entirely outside the realm of possibility. Just a few years later, in August 2013, the entertainment legend found himself in another incident that was far less poetic but equally harrowing. His official Twitter account posted a photo of a completely destroyed Jaguar sports car, along with the humorous caption, "Used Jag for sale real cheap." However, this was no mere social media joke. According to The Guardian, at the age of 87, Dick Van Dyke was driving on Route 101 in California when his sports car suddenly caught fire. Despite the seriousness of the situation, Van Dyke managed to safely pull over to the side of the road. However, he was unable to exit the smoking vehicle on his own and had to be rescued by passers-by. TMZ, the first to report on the incident, noted that the car was already engulfed in flames by the time Van Dyke was pulled to safety, indicating just how perilous the situation had become. Fortunately, despite the intense flames and the urgency of the situation, Dick Van Dyke miraculously emerged from the burning vehicle unscathed. His humorous tweet about the incident, "Used Jag for sale real cheap," not only showcased his impeccable comedic timing, but also served as a testament to his resilience and ability to maintain his sense of humor even in the face of a potentially life-threatening situation. Despite reaching an age when many individuals might choose a more sedentary lifestyle, Dick Van Dyke remained remarkably active and dedicated to his well-being. According to the Chicago Tribune, even at the age of 89, he continued to hit the gym on a daily basis. His commitment to fitness was so strong that he authored a book discussing advanced-age fitness, showcasing his passion for maintaining a healthy lifestyle well into his later years. However, it's worth noting that Van Dyke was not immune to unhealthy habits, with smoking being a significant part of his past. As reported by the Washington Post, his smoking habit was far from casual. He was a heavy smoker, consuming up to 3 packs of cigarettes a day. He openly acknowledged that he was addicted to nicotine. Van Dyke has described cigarettes as the worst of all addictions. Breaking free from this habit was an incredibly challenging endeavor for him. He made several attempts to quit smoking over the years, but it wasn't until a pivotal moment that he managed to successfully quit. He recounted the turning point in his battle with smoking, saying, "I tried for several years to quit smoking. It's just the worst. Then a doctor showed me an X-ray. He said, 'These are little emphysema scars on your lungs.' I stopped right there." Dick Van Dyke's determination to quit smoking was ultimately fueled by the sobering revelation of the damage he had inflicted upon his own lungs. The X-ray, which revealed emphysema scars, served as a wake-up call, prompting him to take immediate action and put an end to his smoking habit. While Van Dyke successfully quit smoking, the consequences of his past addiction lingered. Reports suggest that he has had to contend with health issues related to his lungs, including pneumonia, and at one point, one of his lungs even collapsed. Beside, the passing of a longtime partner is always a deeply sorrowful event, and for Dick Van Dyke, the loss of his longtime love, Michelle Triola, in 2009, was a significant and heartbreaking moment. The Washington Times reported that Michelle Triola, also known as Michelle Triola Marvin, passed away at the age of 76, which, although a fairly advanced age for most, could be considered middle-aged given Van Dyke's remarkable longevity. Dick Van Dyke and Michelle Triola shared a lengthy and enduring connection, despite the fact that Triola is perhaps better known for her 6-year relationship with actor Lee Marvin. Notably, Triola had never officially married either Lee Marvin or Dick Van Dyke, though she did adopt Marvin's last name during their time together. The absence of a legal marriage would become a pivotal point in her life and history. Their relationship, however, ended in 1970, and a lengthy and highly publicized legal battle ensued when Lee Marvin ceased the financial support that had been previously agreed upon. This legal dispute established the concept of palimony, which refers to financial support payments made in cases where unmarried couples who cohabitated break up. This landmark case would go on to shape legal history and is now recognized as an important legal precedent for similar cases. Michelle Triola's death was particularly challenging for Dick Van Dyke for more reasons than just the emotional loss itself. In the year prior, he had also experienced the passing of his ex-wife due to cancer in 2008. Despite having a sense of the likely outcome of Triola's lung cancer diagnosis, Van Dyke chose to maintain an outward appearance of hope and confidence, especially when she asked about her prognosis. He reflected on this difficult time, saying, "When she asked if she was going to die, I pretended I didn't know. The hardest acting I have ever done." Dick Van Dyke's 7-year struggle with a mysterious neurological disorder was a challenging and discomforting ordeal, as reported by Entertainment Tonight, via the Huffington Post. The actor's condition involved an unusual and persistent heartbeat-like sound inside his head. Despite undergoing numerous tests and treatments, he couldn't find a solution to the problem, and the condition only seemed to worsen over time. This constant rhythmic sound in his head took a significant toll on his overall well-being and hindered his ability to function due to the extreme fatigue it caused. In 2013, Van Dyke decided to share his plight with the public, taking to Twitter to crowdsource potential solutions to his baffling ailment. He wrote, "My head bangs every time I lay down. I've had every test come back that I'm perfectly healthy. Anybody got any ideas?" This open call for assistance would eventually lead to a breakthrough. A few weeks after his initial tweet, his Twitter account posted a follow-up message that brought relief to both Van Dyke and his concerned followers. The message revealed that the mystery behind his case-throbbing head had finally been solved. The root cause of the problem was rather unexpected. It was attributed to his famous smile. As it turned out, the issue stemmed from the titanium dental implants Van Dyke had. The vibrations from his dental implants were causing the sensation of his head pounding, leading to the discomfort and strange noise he had been experiencing for years. The revelation that his dental implants were the source of his distress provided a long-awaited solution to his medical mystery. Dick Van Dyke's life was marked by a personal tragedy that unfolded as a result of his own actions. In the early 1970s, his marriage with Margie Willett came to an end due to a series of unfortunate events, as reported by Country Living. During this time, both Van Dyke and Willett were grappling with addiction issues. Van Dyke with alcohol addiction, and Willett with prescription drug addiction. This shared struggle was an indication of deeper problems within their relationship. Van Dyke later reflected on this challenging period in his life, acknowledging that his soaring fame and lifestyle as a renowned star had created a rift between them. He expressed that their addictions were symptomatic of the larger issues plaguing their marriage, and they were slowly growing apart. In his own words, he said, "Our addictions were symptomatic of deeper problems in our relationship, and we were drifting apart." Unfortunately, Dick Van Dyke decided to address these issues by becoming involved in an extramarital affair with Michele Triola, who worked for his agent and was a former actress herself. He candidly admitted to this affair in his memoir, acknowledging his overwhelming feelings of guilt and the need for honesty. By 1976, he reached a point where he felt compelled to confront the situation and be truthful about his actions. The honesty about his affair, however, marked the final chapter in his marriage to Margie Willett. They decided to live apart and ultimately divorced in 1984. Margie Willett, the former wife of Dick Van Dyke, led a quiet and private life following her divorce from the renowned actor. She chose not to remarry and instead focused on her children and grandchildren, embracing a life away from the public eye. She remained dedicated to her family and continued to be a loving and supportive mother and grandmother. In 2007, Margie Willett faced a devastating diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. Despite her battle with this formidable illness, she maintained her strength and courage. Tragically, the disease took her life in 2008. Her death deeply affected Dick Van Dyke, despite the fact that they had been apart for a considerable length of time. He expressed the profound impact she had on his life, describing her as the best thing that ever happened to him. Margie Willett's memory is cherished as that of a loving mother and a devoted wife who stood by Dick Van Dyke's side during his journey from rising to fame to enduring setbacks. She played a pivotal role in his career, often being consulted before he accepted any acting role. She even served as an inspiration for some of his creative work, with the song "Put on a Happy Face" from the musical Bye Bye Birdie being written by Van Dyke for her during a period when she was feeling down. Furthermore, Margie Willett was the subject of one of Dick Van Dyke's books, My Lucky Life in and Out of Show Business, which he dedicated to her. Her influence and presence in his life were significant, and the book served as a testament to her lasting impact. Margie Willett's cause of death marked the end of a remarkable life, filled with love, dedication, and courage. Although she may not have been a celebrity in her own right, she played a vital role in the life of one of the most beloved entertainers of all time. Her legacy of love and strength continues to be cherished by her family and friends, leaving an enduring mark on the life and work of Dick Van Dyke. In 1987, a tragic incident unfolded in the life of Dick Van Dyke's family, involving his 13-year-old granddaughter, Jessica Van, the daughter of his son, Christian Van. Jessica was living in Cleveland, Ohio, with her mother and stepfather at the time. On March 30th, she fell ill with chickenpox, a common childhood illness. In an attempt to alleviate her symptoms, she began taking aspirin. Unfortunately, her condition took a turn for the worse as days passed. Initially, her family interpreted her vomiting as just another symptom of the chickenpox. However, as her health continued to deteriorate, Jessica became delirious 3 days later. Recognizing the severity of her condition, her family rushed her to the hospital, where medical professionals diagnosed her with Reye's syndrome. Reye's syndrome is a rare and severe disorder that can develop in individuals recovering from a viral infection, such as chickenpox. The exact cause of the syndrome is still unknown, but there appears to be a potential link to the use of aspirin in younger individuals. Reye's syndrome leads to the accumulation of fat in the body's organs, with a particular impact on the brain, causing increased pressure and damage. Regrettably, there is no known cure for Reye's syndrome, and the treatment primarily focuses on preventing or mitigating brain damage. Tragically, despite medical efforts, Jessica Van's condition continued to worsen, and she passed away several days after being diagnosed with Reye's syndrome. Her death was a devastating loss to her family, including her grandfather Dick Van Dyke, and she was survived by her father, mother, stepfather, and 2 siblings. Dick Van Dyke has faced tons of tragedies in his life, from marriage to health. So what were his early years like? He was born on December 13th, 1925, in West Plains, Missouri. He was the son of Hazel Victoria McCord, who worked as a stenographer, and Lauren Wayne Cookie Van, who was a salesman. The Van family's ancestral roots included Dutch, English, Irish, and Scottish heritage. Their lineage even traced back to John Alden, one of the Mayflower passengers. Van Dyke spent his formative years in Danville, Illinois. He had a younger brother, Jerry Van, who was also an actor and appeared as his on-screen sibling in The Van Show. In his youth, Dick Van Dyke attended Danville High School as a member of the class of 1944. During his time in high school, he actively participated in the a cappella choir and the school's dramatic club. His involvement in the drama program sparked his passion for performing, and he began considering a career in entertainment. Interestingly, he also contemplated pursuing a career in the ministry. During his senior year at Danville High School, Dick Van Dyke made a significant life decision. He left school to join the United States Army Air Forces to undergo pilot training during World War II. Although he faced multiple rejections due to being underweight, he was eventually accepted into the service as a radio announcer. Later, he transferred to the Special Services Unit, where he entertained troops across the continental United States, bringing joy and laughter to the military personnel. His military service came to an end in 1946. After his military discharge, Dick Van Dyke continued his pursuit of education. He was awarded his high school diploma in 2004, marking a special accomplishment later in life. These early life details provide a glimpse into the rich and diverse background of one of Hollywood's most beloved entertainers. Dick Van Dyke's experiences in both his formative years and his service in the military contributed to shaping the man who would become a legendary figure in the world of entertainment. During the late 1940s, Dick Van Dyke began his journey in entertainment as a radio DJ at W. Dan in his hometown of Danville, Illinois. It was during this time that he gained valuable experience in radio broadcasting, setting the stage for his future in the entertainment industry. In 1947, Van Dyke's path took an interesting turn when he was persuaded by pantomime performer Phil Erickson to form a comedy duo named Eric and Van, the Merry Mutes. This dynamic duo embarked on a tour of the West Coast nightclub circuit, where they performed a mime act and engaged in lip-syncing to 78 RPM records. Their unique act delighted audiences, and they eventually relocated to Atlanta, Georgia in the early 1950s. In Atlanta, the duo took their act to the television screen, starring in a local television show they named The Merry Mutes. The program featured original skits and musical performances, showcasing their comedic talents and miming skills. Dick Van Dyke's television career continued to blossom when he joined WDSU-TV New Orleans Channel 6, NBC. Initially, he worked as a solo comedian, but he later assumed the role of MC for a comedy program. His first appearance on a national network television show was on Chance of a Lifetime, hosted by Dennis James in 1954. During the 1957-1958 season, he also made appearances in 2 episodes of The Phil Silvers Show. Additionally, he graced the screens of the Pat Boone Chevy Showroom on ABC and The Polly Bergen Show on NBC in the early stages of his career. An important turning point in his television journey occurred when a friend he had known during his time in the Army, who was working as an executive for CBS television, recommended Dick Van Dyke to the network. This recommendation led to a significant breakthrough, as he secured a 7-year contract with CBS. During this period, he had a notable role as the anchor on the CBS morning show, with legendary newsman Walter Cronkite serving as his news correspondent. In November 1959, Dick Van Dyke took his talents to the Broadway stage, marking his debut with the production The Girls Against the Boys at the Alvin Theater. This revue, featuring performances by Van Dyke, Shelley Berman, Bert Lahr, Nancy Walker, and others, graced the Broadway scene with a series of lively acts. The production ran for 16 performances from November 2, 1959 to November 14, 1959, showcasing Van Dyke's versatility and charm. These early stages of Dick Van Dyke's career set the foundation for his enduring success in the entertainment industry, spanning radio, television, and even the prestigious Broadway stage. His journey from a local radio DJ to a national television personality and Broadway performer marked the beginning of a remarkable career that would captivate and entertain audiences for years to come. What do you think about Dick Van Dyke's tragic life? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.